Number 9. Akal TK. Known as the Golden Horses, the Akal TK is honestly one of the oldest horse breeds still alive today. They originated in Turkmenistan, and they are bred for their speed and endurance, no doubt because sometimes the harsh terrain of the Middle East. If you're curious about the name, Akal is the line of the oasis along the north slope of the Kopet Dag Mountains. It was inhabited by the Tiki tribe of Turkmens. While the Akal TK are one of the oldest horse breeds around, they are also one of the rarest, as there are only about 6,600 of these horses left in the world today. What's more, many of them are located in Turkmenistan, though a few are scattered here and there around places like Russia, the United States, and more. The thing that separates the Akal TK in terms of beauty is their coloring. They have an almost golden metallic look that makes them shine in the sun, and they are known to survive in. A stark contrast to the dark browns and blacks that many horse species have. Another unique feature about them is their histories, mainly in that the historians can't truly tell where they come from in terms of breeding. The tribes of the Turkmenistan originally made the horses for raids and wars, but whether the Akal TK are one of the original breeds they made or an offshoot of one is unclear. Number 8. Nabstrapper. When you hear the phrase spotted horse, it's usually meant as an insult when it comes to the breeding lines of certain horses. However, when it comes to the Nabstrapper that was born in Denmark, it takes a whole new meaning, because this is quite literally a spotted horse and a beloved one at that. This breed of horse is fairly recent compared to certain purebred breed lines, as they were created in Denmark around 1812. A chestnut mare with a leopard complex blanket markings was bred to a solid-colored stallion, producing a colt with dramatic spotting. Dramatic indeed. You likely wouldn't be chastised for calling this particular horse a Dalmatian because of its likeness to the famed dog species. Regardless, once this unique horse was born, it was later bred with other horses to continue making more spotted horses, and thus the Nabstrapper was made. At its peak, it was one of the most popular horses in Denmark, and then it started to crossbreed, and it's now believed that no other purebreds of this line exist. This hasn't hampered the popularity of the horse though, which is now bred all over the world. What's more, it's used in all kinds of functions, including the circus, general riding, and even show jumping. Number 7. Gypsy Horse. The Gypsy Horse has gone by quite a few names in its times, including the traditional Gypsy Cob, Irish Cob, Gypsy Horse, and just plain Gypsy Cob. But no matter the name, the beauty and the reliability of this horse has made it a name in certain cultures. Specifically, this horse was known for being used by the people of Great Britain and Ireland. During around 1850, they came to be and they were used in very basic ways by pulling the caravans that the British and Irish had begun to use called bardos. At first, any kind of horse or mule was used to pull these bardos, but then it became unfashionable to use horses of certain colors and such, and thus the Gypsy Horse was born. As time went on, these horses were refined in their breeding to create even greater results. They were smaller, but they were tougher and could last longer, which meant pulling the caravans greater distances. What's more, they had been raised to look even more beautiful, thus bringing attention to their owners. Now you'll see them with all kinds of colors, different styles of hair and tails, and more. They were regulated to Europe for some time before being brought over to the United States in 1996. Number 6. Friesian. The horse known as the Friesian is said to have come from the Middle Ages via its ancestors. Said ancestors were believed to be war horses for knights, one that could carry a knight in full armor and not miss a step. Eventually, though, the line was bred to be more of a workhorse, and now the Friesian line is known for being literal black and beauties of a horse that can move with incredible ease despite its size. The history of them is both well documented and yet mysterious, which may have driven up the demand for them during the 18th and 19th centuries. They have been used for a variety of things, including competition riding, general riding, and agricultural work, and more. Their lean bodies allow them to do all sorts of things while still being pleasant to look at. Though it should be noted, when it comes to the Friesian, they are only registered if they are their natural pure black color. If they go a rare chestnut color, they can't be registered as stallions. Another interesting note is that the look of the Friesian horse has made it a popular horse to be used in television shows and movies. Not just that though, but their calm demeanor means they don't react wildly or violently when other things are filming. Number 5. Andalusian Horse. The country of Spain has been known for horses and their abilities for many years, but one of the most famous of the lot is the Andalusian horse, a horse so respected in the country that it's also known as the pure Spanish horse. This horse's ancestors came to the Iberian Peninsula, and they've lived there for thousands of years before humans came along to ride them. They're also a breed of horse that hasn't changed too much over the years because they honestly already have a lot going for them. They're big and strong and yet agile, and because of that, Spain has used them throughout the years as war horses, as well as being a key horse that the nobility used to carry them around and look dignified. They were also one of the first horse species ever that was considered for dressing, and even taught certain moves associated with it. Andalusian horses are also known for their great intelligence and their sensitivity, which may be why so many people have used them because it likely makes them easier to train. They're also popular in movies because they convey a certain stance and are believed to help sell the fact that they are often war horses in these movies. The world truly appreciates the beauty and the power of this horse, and have made many subbreeds of them as a result. Number 4. Shire. Not to be confused by a land from the Middle Earth, the Shire horse is a species of horse that was built and bred for a singular purpose, work, or to put it a bit more specifically, it was bred to be a British draught horse. These horses were made so that farmers could put them into labor situations that they would have a hard time doing themselves, including plowing the fields, pushing carts, and more. It should be noted that they had a great success with the Shire, as it's documented as being one of the biggest and strongest horses in the world and its history, even holding records for its height and its weight at times. This allowed them to do the work that was needed, and thus they were bred and shipped all over the world to farmers and others who might need them. The only reason that the Shire isn't as popular today is because of machines. They do the work they can, and sometimes more efficiently. Due to this, they are now an endangered breed. Number 3. Arabian. You have no doubt heard stories of all the various horse breeds that people from the land of Arabia, and all the names had since, have used over the centuries. They are true horse masters and breeders, and one of the best accomplishments is that of the simply named Arabian horse. This horse has been used for millennia, and historical documents state that they have been used for at least 4,500 years. They are by and large one of the most recognizable horse breeds in the horse history, and many of these Arabian horses have been used to enhance the breeding of other species by giving them speed, endurance, strong bones, and refinement via their genes. One of the reasons these horses are so well respected is because of their upbringing. The early Arabian people had to use these horses to not just travel, but survive. So they bred them not to just last in the harsh desert sun, but to work well with humans and have speed and agility when they needed to run or attack. They are used today for horse racing competitions and can be found all over the world. Number 2. Lusitano. The Lusitano horse is also known as the pureblood Lusitano and has been a prized horse for Portugal for years. Unlike a certain Spanish horse, they were born originally in the Iberian Peninsula. They were eventually found by the Romans and used as war horses for quite some time, at which point their name had become famous worldwide. Originally bred for war, dressage, and bullfighting, Lusitanos are still used today in the latter two. They have competed in several Olympics and World Equestrian Games as part of the Portuguese and Spanish dressage teams. In terms of color, they can be any solid color that is natural for horses, but most people from Portugal prefer them to be black. Number 1. Clydesdale. Arguably the most famous horse in the world today, the Clydesdale stands above all the others as one of the most beautiful horses on the planet. But don't let their beauty blind you. These are work horses, and some of the biggest and strongest in the world. They were built to help with agriculture and be draught horses for various nations, including Scotland, where they were born. What might surprise you, though, was that originally the Clydesdale was bred small. Over time, they grew and became more and more famous. The most famous of the lot is the Budweiser Clydesdale, which were so beautiful and famous that they had yearly commercials in the Super Bowl. Number 9. Jambo and the Boy. In 1986, in the Jersey Zoo in the United Kingdom, a boy named Levon Merritt was watching the gorilla pen when he accidentally fell in somehow, getting knocked unconscious in the process. Unknown to him at the time, his fall was noticed by one of the gorillas, Jambo. The gorilla instantly came to the boy's aid and actually tried to make him feel better, not knowing he was unconscious, by rubbing his back. Then, when his fellow gorillas tried to come closer, Jambo made sure the boy was protected. After a while, Merritt woke up, saw a giant gorilla next to him, and started to cry, which alerted some people that something was very wrong. Sure enough, when rescue workers arrived, Jambo actually made sure all the gorillas gave them a wide enough berth so the boy could be taken away. While it's impossible to know what would have happened to the boy if Jambo hadn't been so protective over him, it's a fair guess to say it might not have had such a happy ending. After Jambo died in 1992, the Jersey Zoo put a statue up in his honor, and his story goes to show that not all gorillas are dangers to humans. Number 8. Maddox Duros. Sadly, not all encounters that happen in zoo enclosures end well. Such was the case in the Pittsburgh Zoo with a young boy named Maddox Duros. Him and his mother were at the zoo and looking at the African dog exhibits. They were at the top, overlooking the enclosure, when Maddox rushed out of his mother's arms to get a closer look. He landed on a net that was there to collect belongings that people dropped from above, but he bounced and landed in the exhibit himself. This led to the wild dogs attacking him and killing him before the zoo could send people to help him. What might be the saddest part about this story is what came after. The Duros family sued the zoo for having such an easy way for their child to get into the enclosure via the wooden railing that he and his mother were at. Then, the zoo countersued the family and noted that it was gross negligence on the count of the mother that led to Maddox's death. The two sides went at it for a while before having a settlement made. Maddox's death was the first in 116-year history of the Pittsburgh Zoo. Number 7. Binty JEA. Heading to the Brooksfield Zoo in Chicago, Illinois, we got the enclosure of the gorilla known as Binty JEA. This gorilla was living in an enclosure there back in 1996 when an incredible event happened right before it. A young boy had fallen into the exhibit. He was so eager to see the gorillas that were there that he climbed over the railing and then fell down to the ground. When this happened, Binty JEA didn't just come over to check on the child. She cradled him in her arms to make sure he was okay. And then, when it was clear to her that something was wrong, she picked him up and took him to the service entrance where she knew the aides of the zoo would be. That's one smart gorilla. And those that watched this event happen live were just as perplexed. Hey yo, she saved him. That gorilla over there saved a boy your age. Zoo visitor Susan Ryan told her son on Tuesday. She picked him up and kept all the other gorillas away. Most agree that the reason Binty JEA did this was because her maternal instincts kicked in and she knew she had to protect this boy. Number 6. Trying to lion down. Another sad event that happened at a zoo can be found back in 2016. This particular event occurred at the Santiago Metropolitan Zoo in Chile, South America. A man entered the enclosure of a set of lions. Why would he do such an act? It was to commit suicide. This was proven in many ways, not the least of which was that the man took off his clothes when he entered the enclosure and approached the lions. A note was later found in said clothes that also indicated a suicide note. There is a twist in this tale, but it's not a happy one. The aides at the zoo saw this happening and were able to respond to the event. However, that response was them killing both of the lions to make sure that they couldn't kill the man. Due to the circumstances, and to firstly protect the life of this person, we found ourselves obligated to apply all of our security protocols, the zoo statement reads. The zoo said it took the incomprehensible action of killing 2 of its 3 lions, which was profoundly painful for every single one of us. It is also a chilling reminder of what people can do to try to be free from their lives. Number 5. Mandy Kay. Sometimes, people just do very stupid things for very stupid reasons. And a great example of this was when a woman known as Mandy Kay went to the Berlin Zoo in Germany and decided that she needed to go and meet the polar bears that were in the enclosure. Polar bears on their own are very dangerous and should not be disturbed. What's more, she went to meet them during their feeding hours. So not only was she reckless, but she picked the absolute worst time to go and get a closer encounter. Upon reaching the polar bears, the bears acted like you would expect. They attacked her. One in particular went and bit her arms and legs, which was apparently a wake-up call for Mandy, who then proceeded to try and escape and was able to push off the bears, which is quite a feat, so that she could reach a wall, get onto a rope, and be pulled back up to the surface by the keepers. Her actions were truly one of stupidity, because she was a mother and a teacher, and not suicidal. She was berated for her actions, including putting many people's lives, including her own, in danger. Number 4. Tilikum. It's very easy to go to SeaWorld and observe the majestic orcas, and watch them play with their trainers and go, I'd love to do that myself one day. You can if you get the training, or you can be like a man in 1999 who decided to sneak into the SeaWorld exhibit to play with the orca known as Tilikum and died as a result. He came during the night when the park was closed, and when the workers came the next morning, the park officials arrived to find the man literally draped across the back of Tilikum. What's more, he wasn't wearing clothes, suggesting that he was trying to show friendship or something like that to keep the whale calm. The irony here is that the whale didn't do much to kill him. Based on the lack of injuries, the whale likely pulled his leg and held him underwater until he drowned. Another irony is that he killed 2 other people, including his trainer at SeaWorld, which is why many people refer to the orcas by their other name, killer whales. Number 3. Rick Swope. You've heard of people falling into animal enclosures and being saved by the animals themselves. But how about a person going into the animal enclosure to save the animal? This is exactly what happened at the Detroit Zoo back in 1990. While many were watching one of the monkey enclosures, a man named Rick Swope, among others, watched helplessly as a chimpanzee started to drown in the enclosure's water pool. The monkey couldn't swim, and Rick knew that something had to be done. Thus, he dove into the enclosure, raced over to the monkey, grabbed it. The chimp weighed about 135 pounds, and swam it to shore. The chimp survived thanks to his actions. What's more, the chimp seemed to understand what Rick was doing and let him do what he needed to do without fighting back. As for Rick, he made it out of the enclosure without an issue and was thanked by the zoo for what he did. Number 2. The woman, the hat, and the tiger. Here is a very curious story of how far someone will go to get an item of clothing that many would see as expendable. This particular incident happened at the Toronto Zoo in Canada, and during one point, a woman had her hat knocked off into the enclosure. She decided to go and get it, causing a big ruckus among the people when she did. The reason for this was that the hat fell into the den of tigers, which are known to be very territorial and are more than willing to go and attack humans when necessary. Sure enough, when she entered the enclosure, the tigers weren't happy, and they wanted to get her. But fortunately for her, they were separated by a fence, so while the tigers could make threatening moves, they couldn't actually reach her. Number 1. The panda. When you think about pop culture and the media in regards to how they show off pandas, you'd think that they're the cutest, kindest, and most adorable creatures in the world. Because of this, many people have tried to get close to pandas over the years, especially at zoos. This is a mistake, especially when you're at the Beijing Zoo with the panda known as Gugu. Gugu is a panda who has no problem messing with people that dare to enter her enclosure. In its history, it's beaten or attacked at least 3 people, including a child who just wanted to hug the black and white bear. Another time, a man didn't mean to interfere with the panda, but rather just wanted to get a toy that had been dropped by a child. When he entered the area, Gugu came right up and bit him on the leg. The panda had to be shooed away by the keepers in order to help the man. He was taken to the hospital and given a rabies shot. Pandas can be adorable, but they are known to be very violent to those who they deem a threat or an annoyance. Number 9. The slender snouted crocodile. Coming in at just over 10 feet in length, the slender snouted crocodile is a pretty big croc, especially since it weighs 405 pounds on average, but can get up to 500 pounds at points. Now, on one hand, the slender-snouted crocodile is usually known for eating small things like fish, amphibians, and other such creatures. But the tribes of Africa, where it resides, have noted that this croc isn't afraid to get dirty and will use any opportunity it finds to get its next meal, no matter how big or small it might be. As such, it has attacked some of these African tribes, and they always keep an eye out for it. There are actually several species of the slender-snouted crocodile, including ones that are known to reside solely in Central Africa, and others that are rooted in Western Africa. Despite their dirty nature, they are very shy and prefer to blend in rather than be seen by others and pestered. Number 8. Oronoko crocodile. In South America, the largest predator on the continent is a crocodile. Specifically, the Oronoko crocodile. That's right, a crocodile is the biggest predator in a place that has cats, snakes, and more. They're primarily found in the rivers in Colombia and Venezuela. Lengthwise, they can get up to 13 feet on average, with 17 feet being their max size, but some feel they can grow to even bigger lengths. Primarily, they feed on things like fish, birds, and other small creatures, yet they are known to attack humans at times, which is appropriate given that humans are known to hunt the species. One of the reasons for this is because the crocodile is known to hunt certain species of fish to such low numbers that humans can't get them themselves. Interesting fact, the females of the species actually bury their eggs and then wait for the cries of the little ones to bring them out of the ground, after which she'll watch over them in the waters she takes them to. Number 7. Maximo. Maximo was a saltwater crocodile that used to be in Australia via the St. Augustine alligator farm, and it was one of the largest to ever be measured. As for its definitive size, Maximo came in at an impressive 17 feet 9 inches long. But just as impressive is its lower teeth. It's 4 inches long, which a crocodile isn't usually capable of having. So technically, Maximo has a reverse bucktooth. Previously, the zoo had a crocodile named Gomek that was about the same size as Maximo, but a lot heavier, and it died as a result. Because of this, the zoo actually regularly worked out Maximo to ensure that it maintained a healthy weight. Maximo died in 1997. Number 6. Mugger crocodile. Here is a creature who lives up to its name. The mugger crocodile is actually a species that prefers to ambush its prey on a number of different terrains. While all crocodiles are pretty much first-strike killers, the mugger takes it to another level. They'll wait in certain areas and snatch its prey, then drag it down into the water, which isn't too different from other crocs, but it's also been documented as being known to hunt in forests, as it actually goes onto trails and hunts for food there as well. Not to mention, they'll sometimes drag their prey into the water and wedge them between rocks for a while so they can simmer before they get eaten. So on land or in water, the mugger crocodile is to be feared. With its 10+ feet frame, it's got the length to literally go the distance. Though it should be noted that they have been recorded as being up to 18 feet at times, though this is rare. Another curious thing is they are known to use tools like lures to get birds to come closer to them. Number 5. Gustave. Gustave is a crocodile, to be clear, but it's also a killer. And not of animals, but of people, and quite a few of them at that. The apparent kill count of this croc in regards to humans is 300, but there is some debate as to whether this is an actual truth or just a legend getting out of hand. That being said, there's no doubt that Gustave is a killer, which makes the fact that his whereabouts are unknown quite unsettling. Yes, that's right, there's no current known location of this croc. That being said, we do know a lot of information on Gustave. For example, he was a Nile crocodile and he was 6 meters long, which is just short of the record for the largest croc ever measured. Though it should be noted that since he has not been caught and measured, all measurements are based on glimpses and photos and such. He would terrorize the Ruzizi River in Burundi, as well as a nearby lake, and because of his fame, many attempts were made to capture him, but none of them were successful. In fact, this led to a rather alarming realization that Gustave was actually a very smart croc. Just as scary is the fact that Gustave has survived many confrontations with armed humans. He has 3 bullet holes in him that can be seen quite easily, and it's said he has other scars on his body as well. The scariest thing of all, though, might just be that he's been known to leave his kills uneaten, which means he's capable of comprehending the notion of killing for sport. Much of the world wonders where he is now, but many are just hoping he's not near them. The last true sighting of him was in 2015. Number 4. Gerial. The Gerial is a species of croc that can only be found in India, but as you can see, it's one of the strangest crocodiles ever because it has a really thin jaw and mouth. This is in stark contrast to most crocodiles and even alligators, which thrive because of their large mouths that they use to bite down on their prey in order to bring them down to the waters they live in. But for the Gerial, it's not like that at all. They use their very thin mouth, which has 110 teeth in it, to catch fish. So it's a trade-off, but one that has worked in its favor, for they are very good at catching fish with their mouth. Unfortunately, there aren't many Gerials left in the world. At last tally, there's around 250 in the wild, but there's likely fewer than that now. They're critically endangered, and it's unknown if they'll be able to bounce back. In regards to their size, the Gerial is known to be 17 feet on average. However, there have been unconfirmed reports they can grow over 20 feet in length. Number 3. Dominator. Found on the Adelaide River in Australia, Dominator has been seen numerous times by numerous people, and though not technically measured, many suspect him to be around 20 feet long, which is massive. If you're wondering why a lot of people have seen this crocodile, it's because the Adelaide River is a tour boat destination, which is very ironic as that river is a hotspot for crocodiles. But clearly, some people don't mind the danger and are willing to pay big money to see a big croc. Speaking of danger, you definitely don't want to test the limits of what Dominator can do. This croc has been seen leaping out of the water so high that it could touch the canopy of one of the tour boats, which for the record is several feet high. Dominator is considered one of the king crocs of the river, and there doesn't seem to be a worthy challenger to take that title off of him. Though there have been many fights with other crocodiles in the river, but Dominator continues to come out on top. Number 2. Saltwater Crocodile. In terms of species, there is only one top contender for crocodiles that are alive in the world today, and that would be the saltwater crocodile. These crocs are massive and have been known to get over 20 feet, though its average is about 17. Its weight can vary from 400 pounds to well over 2,000. As for where you would find such a croc, They're usually spotted in salty areas of India, Southeast Asia, as well as northern Australia. But here's the catch. Despite their size, they're actually pretty good swimmers, and contrary to how other crocodiles act, they're not afraid to go out into the sea in order to get food. Like most crocodiles, saltwater crocs are known for being very opportunistic predators, and as such, they'll lurk in areas waiting for food to come to them. But there have been reports of them going after humans, and even eating them. Given their size, it's a potential that shouldn't be ignored. Sadly, people don't ignore them when it comes to profit, for the hide of a saltwater crocodile is extremely valuable, and though they aren't endangered, they are illegally hunted. Number 1. Llong. This is the story about a crocodile, one of the largest ever caught, and for this story, we go to the Philippines, where they somehow caught a massive saltwater crocodile that they eventually named Llong. Not so ironically, Llong is not just the longest crocodile ever caught, but it's also the heaviest. In terms of length, Llong comes in at just over 20 feet, which made it a true behemoth, and then when you add its weight, which is 2,370 pounds, you can truly say this is one monster of a crocodile. The only thing more shocking than Llong's size is how he was brought into captivity. You see, there was a joint operation that went down in 2011 with the goal of capturing this crocodile. The hunt went on for over 3 weeks, and it took people from the government, local villages, and actually crocodile hunters to take this one on. At one point, they had to drag Llong onto land, and it took 100 people to do so, further proving its length and weight. But it didn't end there. Despite being restrained, Llong repeatedly broke free from its containment, and only after 3 attempts was the crocodile eventually truly captured. So you might be wondering, why were they after this crocodile? It's because Llong was believed to have been the source of several human deaths in the area, including a fisherman and a little girl. However, upon examining its stomach, no human remains were found. Still, the capture of Llong was quite a feat, and one that will be remembered for quite some time, even if another crocodile is found to be bigger than it. Llong died in 2013, but his record remains. Thanks for watching! How impressive are these crocodiles? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you next time. Bye!